From coaches to casuals, grassroots to the league, this is Open Gyms. I'm Coach Q.
Coach T, who I be.
Here, come here. Coach, what did I do? Timmy, listen, you're 5'8", okay? You are the tallest player on our team. So I do not want you to be a guard. I need you to be who you really are, and that's power forward center, okay? Got it, Coach. Yep. Keep it up. Yo, push the ball, Brandon. What are you doing? Coach said I can't dribble. Oh, yeah. Why? You were wide open. Shoot it. Coach said no shooting. Yeah, set the screen, Timmy. Set it. Pink, set it. How are you? How can I help? Hey, Coach, I would really love to play for your program, and I think I can bring a lot of value to the team. So I think you should recruit me. Okay, and how tall are you? I'm about like 6'1", Coach. And I'm assuming you're like a point guard or... Oh, I'm mainly like power forward center. But do you know how to play those positions? Like, dribbling and shooting? Not really. Okay, well, look, the best I can do is team manager.
All right, Trey, you had a conversation that you wanted to get to that kind of dealt a little bit with that, where not teaching or making sure that we teach all players guard skills. What's your thoughts on the main? Let's hop into it.
Man, you see that all the time, man. Like, I can't count how many games I've coached where just because the kid is the tallest player on the floor, you feel like you should put him at the 5. And then I remember a game in particular just with me coaching. And I got a kid, let's, just go back a little bit. I got a kid that played for me last year, 2029, Braylon Armstrong. He's going to be one of those kids I think that the city will know in a couple years. But he's at 7th grade. He's 6'3", great height, length. But yeah. And I tell him all the time when I'm getting on, fussing on him in practice, I'm like, Braylon, you are the guy that passes the eye test. Like if somebody walk in, they're going to look at you first. They're not looking at everybody else. They're like, man, who is that big ass kid right there? So I always tell him, like, you're going to have everything. So what I have Braylon, I run Braylon at the 4. But what I get him used to is, trailing the play. He'll set a screen. He'll roll. He got that. But then he actually initiates the nail action that we run from, Kyler Perry's dribble drive offense too. So he'll actually get downhill and have to make a decision from the perimeter. Now, when I first started showing him this, when I got back involved with him, because he played with me at my program Halo, and then he left and he went to Team Charlotte. Okay. And then from Team Charlotte, they made the transition to play with Up Next, which I was at Up Next coaching. They seen me at the tryout and it was like, man, we ain't seen you well, but we glad to see that you one of the guys, involved with it. So I'm like, yes, sir. But I told them I have a plan for him. Like, I think he's going to be 6'6", 6'7". I tell his dad all the time, he's going to know how to play inside and out. You know what I'm saying? And watching that meme, I think coaches, at the high school level and middle school level kind of hurt kids because they see size and they just throw them in the post. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, you got to rebound. No, I tell Braylon, you're going to do so much more. You're going to defend the ball. That's the biggest thing I get at him at right now. He moves his feet, but he like to reach a lot. So now I'm trying to get him to understand the art of containing the basketball and, staying in front of the ball and being big and being long, using your length, and I'm like, you're going to be more than just a rebounder, box out and drop step, but he can give me that. When I see a mismatch, I throw him down in there. Hey, Braylon, go get that. He's small, go get that. Then I can say, hey, Braylon, come out, initiate the offense, run this nail action. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm building a hybrid player and I see, a lot of coaches have kids as potentially hybrid players, but they're going about it the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but when you see a kid with size, the league is changing. LaMelo Ball, who we talk about a lot, is 6'6", 6'7", and he is snaking screens. He's not posting nobody up. So
Luka the same.
Yep, Luka running off the pick and roll. So
if you really want to take it back, they ran Giannis at the PG for like 3 years.
Right.
If you remember that.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say, speaking directly to the meme,
mm-hmm.
it's rare that you see those kids that get put inside that box
mm-hmm.
actually make it out of that box.
Right.
Like seeing a lot of kids from like literally second grade all the way through high school, you do end up seeing some kids that got put inside, all right, you're going to be a big. You're going to be a 5. You're going to learn the drop step. And at that time, they were the tallest one, maybe about 3-4 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you say like elementary school. Then middle school come, they kind of like end up being middle of the pack.
Right. Yeah.
And then high school come, they just a guard.
They blend in.
They kind of end up being like small guards to an extent. They might be like a little more stockier, but they end up being small guards. And these same players end up having to play catch up when it comes to skill set. And yeah, like I said, it's rare that I've seen it actually work out. One time I will say that I have seen it work out. And when it does work out, I think that it works out beautifully because of those guards end up being comfortable. Where Taurus.
I was going to say that.
Taurus is an example where he played in the post for a while. And he got with who he got with in his transition to high school. He became a guard. Right. And he's only been a guard since then. And because of that, he's a slasher that don't mind contact. He'll go and get all the dirty points, but he's developed his guard skills so much to where he's like a real legit threat both ways. Like he'll run through, you know what I mean, the paint and not mind the contact, but then can get you a skillful bucket out on the outside.
Right.
Another kid that I coached that I tried to get him out of that box as soon as I could was AC. Where with AC, he started off in the post, but I could already see that he was going to have some skill set.
And I'm going to tell you something, Q. I ain't mean to cut you off, but you used to tell us that. You used to tell us that all the time, and you'd be like, I'm going to let AC run the point. And in games that we wanted to win, I'm like, Q, like we got Colin and your son and, you know what I'm saying, Tony, like, he was like, no, but don't nobody take the ball from AC. So I do remember, I remember that. Shout out AC at West Charlotte, point guard at West Charlotte. But I didn't mean to chime in, but I had to give you some flowers on that because you did see that. No,
I appreciate it. And yeah, so I know for me, that was something that I tried to eventually get away from, especially just kind of watching how the game was evolving. Where the bigs that I ended up having, I tried to put the ball inside their hand a little bit more as they kind of got older and older, just because you like I said, you kind of see where a lot of these kids, if you don't put that ball into their hand, especially if they make it out of middle school without actually developing it, it's tough for them in high school making that transition. Like you got to be a special player to actually be able to make that transition that late when it comes down to building the guard skill set. Yeah, like I said, that'll kind of be my take on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you another kid too, T-Sean. You remember in those early years with the Stars and CP3, he he was considered that big because he was the biggest kid on the floor. But one thing I will say Rod did was he actually let him handle the ball too. So now you seeing him, man. I heard he had Cox Mills like averaging like 18, 20 points a game because he actually has guard skills now. And how big is he now, would you say?
Last time I said, I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", somewhere in that range.
So 6'4", 6'5" guard. And that's where he gonna get his looks at the guard. As long as he can defend. But shout out to the coaches like Q, Rod, me, myself, that put the ball in these kids' hands. Coaches, AAU level, you are the most important, especially at the middle school ages. You are the most important guys coming up for these kids to go to high school and then possibly college. You have to let these kids make their mistakes and handle the basketball. Don't just shove them in the post. Don't just shove these guys in the post, man. Let them handle the ball, man.
And I guess that kind of goes to another question that kind of piggybacks off that, where player development versus winning. I think that this concept in itself kind of sits within that, where a lot of player development can come, unfortunately, at the cost of winning that specific game.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up being, kind of like a seesaw of at what point is it important? What's your take on it? Player development versus winning.
Okay. I would say, again, we had a conversation on one of our episodes where we was just talking about programs. And I think that kind of ties into that too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm big on player development. And I think if you have these kids at it's starting at elementary now. Kids are playing in high-level tournaments in third grade. But if you that coach is third grade up to eighth grade, you should be focused on the development of the player.
Mm-hmm.
Development of the player. And I don't care what you playing in. You could still be out there playing the made hoops. You could or Adidas scene or a Puma. You still need to be making sure that each kid is getting whatever, that they could potentially be, whether it's handling the ball and being a savvy ball handler, a playmaker, a shot creator. Don't just shove these kids in a box. So I'm big on the player development side, Q. The wins will come. I used to tell my guys all the time, if you do the right things early on in a year and work on the stuff that you're not good at, and you see, that your kids need to know how to make left-hand layups, dribble up the court with the left hand, even make a pass, a push pass, not a chest pass or overhead pass, but a push pass with the left hand. At the end of the day, you're going to start to win. And every season that I, conducted with Halo Elite, bro, we won. We start winning at the end of the year and get notable wins. Mm-hmm. So, the development side to me is most important.
And I guess what I'd say is that where it becomes difficult is when you get on teams that are looked at being quote unquote elite.
Mm-hmm.
And like from a coach's perspective, it ends up being so much, especially if you start doing the traveling, you're going to Alabama, you're going to Philly, you're going to wherever. When you playing at Carolina courts every week, like it's okay. Like you can win and you can lose some and play a development.
Right.
But then there's a space where shout out Team Bond. When you go to you go out to Winston-Salem, you go out to Greensboro for that one day. Like it'd be cool.
Yeah.
But then there's like a stage, and sometimes maybe it starts too early.
Yeah.
Where we're putting like the elite tag on it, to where even on the coach's side, the pressure to win almost usurps the need to develop talent.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting where you think about like this second, third, fourth, fifth grade elite teams.
Yeah.
Well, like these are second, third, fourth, fifth grade players in which like it's so much development that actually still needs to get done with them. And I think that ends up being like the interesting balance where I think the pressure to win, especially if you're with like a quote unquote reputable organization, sometimes the pressure to win, it oversteps player development. And even that, in my opinion, ends up being when you branch it out long term, and then you look at these grassroots teams and the players that was on the team, like let's say elementary and then middle school, and then when it gets to the circuit, end up being a different group. But it's because of really it was the team that they put together at that moment was just to win at that moment.
Right.
And they just kept redoing that over like, players or the team's development through grassroots. But it wasn't actual player development. That's why you'll only see one or two kids that actually stay.
Right.
Everything else is like grabbing win down pieces. Let's get this big that's 6 foot in the fifth grade and just teach them a drop step.
Right.
And that's going to last us 2 years.
Right.
And then we'll redo that again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually develop the player. That player ends up playing like we ain't got to go down that line.
Right.
But yeah, so that'd be like I said, my caveat to it. I think that the pressure of programs often oversteps even, what the coach is able to do. And then don't put the parents in there too.
Oh, man.
Don't get smacked by 30.
And look,
them parents ready to leave.
And then you forgot to mention the key component, the money. They paying fees. Yeah. They paying fees. So they want to win, but then at the same time, they want their kid to develop. So, but if all in all, with what you're saying, I think even if you're at the level of if you're competing and going to Texas or going to New Jersey, either don't involve the kids that ain't ready. Sometimes they will. Don't involve them. Put them on the B team where you might have a coach like me that's coaching the B team that love development. You get what I'm saying? And you know that, okay, at least Coach T is going to develop the kid. And then, maybe next year he'll be ready for me. Go get the kids as kind of like as close as possible to the winning now. Don't overlook the player development.
This then becomes the tough part of like these elite teams.
Yeah.
Where it's two things. You got the overzealous parent.
Yeah. Right.
Where the kid might not be there, but they want them inside them IG pictures.
Right.
Where they holding that trophy up.
And got the cameras out.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kid might only play again if they winning by 30.
Right. Right.
And then it's usually the people on the backside of the bench that's making sure that everything actually gets done.
Right.
Because those are the ones that's really going to pay.
Yep.
And that's where now it becomes like its own little system.
Yeah.
Where in general, you just got to kind of be careful. And this is where, as a parent, you got to understand what are you actually looking to get out at this moment for your kid. Is it just like the IG picture, hold up a trophy thing?
Right.
Is it development? Is your ego going to get bruised because your kid's on the B team?
Right. Right.
Do you just want him to take those pictures so that you be like,
Preach.
hey, look all my Facebook friends.
Preach. Preach.
Like my kid won a championship.
Right.
And then, the highlight tape be the layup line. But that's a different story.
and maybe too in game, you know what I mean? But nah, Q, you hit it right on the head, man. I think, we got to be mindful that these kids are developing.
Yeah.
And the younger years of them, coaches should be focused on the whole development of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you said, if you're going to Texas, you're going to New Jersey. I used to have this talk with who in Tennessee. I told you on that last episode, I told them we had a whole, meeting about that because I knew I seen it before. I was a program director, so I wanted to kill it before it even happened. But I would tell them, hey, look, we're going to Tennessee. It's going to be competitive. Every kid might not play. And the games that we are blowing the team out, if we get one of those games, your kid will play. But if we're in a game where, it's neck and neck or we down by 5 the whole game, your kid might not play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I get it, coaches.
And shout out to the coaches that actually have that conversation. I think that's like the important part is giving the parent, at least giving the heads up.
Right.
Because, like sometimes you might play local ball and everybody get in.
Right.
Then you go out of town.
It's a different story.
Yeah. It'd be a struggle sometimes. That's one of the things that when I look back on certain times that I was coaching, especially younger, I wish that I was more intentional at, like, even if it's like last 1 or 2 minutes of a half.
Yeah.
When it kind of don't really matter.
Right.
When you could sneak a minute here too for a kid, sneak a minute too. Because reality is that, like, it might not seem like it to a lot of parents, but I know I'll be like, damn, I wish I could have just got him in.
Right.
Just got him in for a little bit.
Right. Because it matters.
Yeah. And like sometimes that's all the parent be wanting.
Yep.
So just squeeze them in a little bit.
Yeah.
And shout out to the parents that understand that and know and have just like that small expectation.
Yeah.
Where, like when I reflect back, those are like some of the small little things. It's like, damn, if I was thinking better. There's probably like a minute or two here where I could have hit him. We inside the little zone. He gonna just be sitting right there. That's cool.
Right.
At least so that they can just see their kid be out there. Because it is like, if we talking about elementary, especially.
Yeah, right. And that's like, what it was, yeah.
It'd be like, damn. Middle school, it's a little more cutthroat. Sometimes you just got to take that. High school, it's a dub. You just got to make sure you get with the right program. If not, just understand your kid's not guaranteed to play.
Right.
It's just the reality of it.